What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got another Oasis album reaction, this time their third studio album, Be Here Now, brought to us by friend and longtime supporter and patron of the channel, Richard. Thank you, Richard. You always bring us fantastic stuff, and it is much appreciated. Now, last month at the time of this filming, I did their debut, definitely maybe, for Richard, so he followed up with this. Trey and I did What's the Story Morning Glory probably a year plus ago. Was familiar with that album, have never heard this album, so looking forward to digging into it. I got a ton of research, boys and girls, so if you're joining me, this is going to be a long video. There's 72 minutes of music, so that's insane in its own right, and I have a lot of research because there's a lot of stuff going on around the band during this time, so just buckle up. I'm going to tell you right now, so I can tell you before we get to the music, there's no music in this video. There's a Vimeo link below. So if you want to see it with the music in its entirety, just go ahead and click on that link, and that way I'll save you some time so you can watch all this in its entirety. If you just want to see what I think and hear the research and what was going on, hang out here. So let's get into it. I already said third studio album released in August of 1997. Recorded at multiple recording studios in London, including Abbey Road. Although most tracks retain the anthemic quality of previous releases, the songs on it are longer and contain many guitar overdubs. Noel Gallagher said this was done to make the album sound as colossal as possible. Following the worldwide success of those first two albums I talked about, definitely maybe in What's the Story Morning Glory in 94 and 95, the album was highly anticipated. Their management company Ignition were aware of the dangers of overexposure and before release sought to control media access to the album. The campaign included limiting pre-release radio airplay and forcing journalists to sign gag orders. The tactics alienated the press, you don't want to do that, and many industry personnel connected with the band and fueled large-scale speculation and publicity within the British music scene. Preceded by the lead single, Do You Know What I Mean, which will be the first single or first song when we get to it. This was an instant commercial success. This album was selling faster than its two predecessors and becoming the fastest selling album in British chart history and topping the albums chart in 15 countries. It's the biggest selling album of the UK in 1997. And think about that, it was released in August, right? So it didn't have the same time as many other earlier released albums did, with 1.5 million units sold that year. As of 2016, it has sold 8 million copies worldwide. It debuted at 2 in the US, but then sales tailed off quickly. According to co-producer Owen Morris, the recording sessions were marred by arguments between the band members and drug abuse, and the band's only motivations were commercial. While initial reception was overwhelmingly positive, retrospective reviews of the album have been more negative, with many calling it bloated and overproduced. The band members have differing views of the album, with Noel severely criticizing it and Liam highly praising it, with the latter declaring it his favorite Oasis album. He said that in 2017, so with some perspective. By the summer of '96, they were widely considered, according to Noel, the biggest band in the world, bigger than, dare I say it, God. He's trying to do a little John Lennon, right? We all know the connections there. Earlier that year, Oasis members holidayed with Johnny Depp and Kate Moss in Mick Jagger's villa in Mustique, I think that's how you say that. During their last stay on the island, Noel wrote the majority of the songs that would make up this album. He had suffered from writer's block during the previous winter, and he wrote only a single guitar riff in 6 months following the release of What's the Story Morning Glory. Eventually, he disciplined himself to a routine of songwriting where he would go, quote, into this room in the morning, come out for lunch, go back in, come out for dinner, go back in, then go to bed. Noel said, most of the songs were written before I even got a record deal. I went away and wrote the lyrics in about 2 weeks. Oasis producer Owen Morris joined Gallagher together with a Tascam 8-track recorder, and they recorded demos with a drum machine and a keyboard. They recorded those there. In August of '96, they performed 2 concerts before crowds of 250,000 at Nebworth House. More than 2.5 million fans had applied for tickets. So that just tells you, like, they have got some major acclaim, and with that can come some major overexposure. The dates would be the zenith of Oasis' popularity, and both the music press and the band realized it would not be possible for the band to equal that event. By this time, infighting had broken out in the band. On August 23rd, 1996, Liam refused to sing for an MTV Unplugged performance at London's Royal Festival Hall, pleading a sore throat. However, he attended the concert and heckled Noel from the upper balcony. 4 days later, Liam declined to participate in the first leg of an American tour, complaining he needed to buy a house with his then girlfriend, Patty Kensit. He He rejoined the band a few days after for a key concert at the MTV Video Music Awards in New York, but intentionally sang off key and spat beer and saliva during the performance. So yeah, it's coming off the rails just a bit. Among much internal bickering, the tour continued to Charlotte, North Carolina, where Noel finally lost his patience with Liam and announced he was leaving the band. He said later, quote, "If the truth be known, I didn't want to be there anyway. I wasn't prepared to be in the band if people were being like that to each other." Noel rejoined Oasis a few weeks later, but the band's management and handlers were worried. With an album's worth of songs already demoed, the Gallaghers felt that they should record as soon as possible. Their manager, Marcus Russell, said in 2007 that, quote, "In retrospect, we went in the studio too quickly. The smart move would have been to take the rest of the year off, but at the time it seemed like the right thing to do. If you're a band and you got a dozen songs you think are great, why not go and do it?" Plus, as I said, they're probably worried they're going to break up. In 2006, Noel agreed that the band should have separated for a year or two instead of going into the studio. However, Morris later wrote, quote, "It was a mistake on everyone's part. Management very much included that we didn't record Be Here Now in the summer of '96. It would have been a much different album. Happy, probably." He described the Mystique demos as, quote, "the last good recordings I did with Noel," and said his relationship soured following the Nebworth concert. Recording began on October 7, 1996 at Abbey Road. Morris described the first week as effing awful and suggested to Noel that they abandon the session. He just shrugged and said it would be all right, so on we went. Liam was under heavy tabloid focus at the time, and on November 9, 96 was arrested and cautioned for cocaine possession at the Q Awards. A media frenzy ensued, and the band's management made the decision to move to a studio less readily accessible to paparazzi. Sun showbiz editor Dominic Mohan recalled, "We had quite a few Oasis contacts on the payroll. I don't know whether any were drug dealers, but there were always a few dodgy characters about." On November 11th of 96, they relocated to the rural Ridge Farm studio. Though they reconvened with more energy, the early recordings were compromised by the drug intake of all involved. Morris recalled that, quote, "In the first week, someone tried to score an ounce of weed, but instead got an ounce of cocaine." Big difference, boys and girls, which kind of summed it up, he said. Noel was not present during any of Liam's vocal track recordings. Morris thought that the new material was weak, but when he voiced his opinion to Noel, he was cut down. He said, "So I just carried on, shoveling drugs up my nose," so Morris was taking him too. Morris had initially wanted to just transfer the Mystique demo recordings and overdub drums, vocals, and rhythm guitar, but the 8-track mixer he had employed required him to bounce tracks for overdubs, so then he was unable to remove the drum machine from the recordings by the way it was recorded in those demos. Noel wanting to make the album as dense and, as I said earlier, colossal feeling as possible, layered multiple guitar tracks on several songs. In many instances, he created 10 channels with identical guitar parts in an effort to create a sonic volume. Creations owner Alan McGee visited the studio during the mixing stage. He said, quote, "I used to go down to the studio and there was so much cocaine getting done at that point. Owen was out of control," so Owen Morris, the producer, "and he was the one in charge of it. The music was just effing loud." Morris responded, "Alan McGee was the head of the record company. Why didn't he do something about the out-of-control record producer? Obviously, the one not in control was the head of the record company." So I guess Morris didn't like that crack, did he? He said that he and the band had been dealing with personal difficulties the day and night before McGee visited the studio. The tracks are more layered and intricate than before, and each contains multiple guitar overdubs. While Morris had previously stripped away layers of overdubs on their debut, Definitely Maybe, during the production of this, he seemed to gleefully encourage such excess. Still got really good reviews up front. NME 8 out of 10, Pitchfork 7.9 out of 10, Q 5 out of 5, Rolling Stone 4 out of 5. But later on, critics went back retrospectively and slammed it. Usually you see the opposite when you look at albums research. Usually albums grow in prestige over years. This one actually diminished. Noel said, reflecting on this album, he said, "It's the sound of a bunch of guys on coke in the studio not giving an F. There's no bass to it at all. I don't know what happened to that. And all the songs are really long and all the lyrics are crap. And for every millisecond Liam is not saying a word, there's an effing guitar riff in there in a Wayne's World style." In the 2003 John Dower directed documentary Live Forever, The Rise and Fall of Britpop, music critic John Savage pinpointed this album, Be Here Now, as the moment where the Britpop movement ended. The Gallagher brothers hold differing opinions of this album. In July 97, Noel was describing the production as bland and some tracks as effing crap. He later said, this is just a harsh comment. I had to put this in because this made me laugh. He later said, just because you sell lots of records, it doesn't mean to say you're any good. Look at Phil Collins. I just thought that was savage, man. In that documentary I said earlier, In Live Forever, The Rise and Fall of British Pop, he dismissed the album and blamed its faults on drugs and the band's indifference during recording. In the same documentary, though, Liam defended the record and said, at the time, we thought it was effing great, and I still think it's great. It just wasn't Morning Glory. In 2006, Liam said of Noel, if he didn't like the record that much, he shouldn't have put the effing record out in the first place. I don't know what's up with him, but it's a top record, man, and I'm proud of it. It's just a little bit long. Well, it's 72 minutes, so it's probably a lot long, but we're about to find out. All tracks are written by Noel, as always. Well, let's jump into this. The first track, I mentioned earlier, Do You Know What I Mean? Lead single, #1 in the UK, the third Oasis song at that time to go to #1. The single also claimed the #1 position in Finland, Ireland, and Spain, reached the top 5 in Italy, New Zealand, Norway, and Sweden. It shows you these guys were over everywhere. Samples a drum beat from NWA's Straight Outta Compton. At the time of the release of this single, it was the longest run time by Oasis in any single, 7 minutes, 42 seconds. In a 1997 interview promoting this album, Noel had this to say about this song. I was going to make up some profound statement in the chorus, but I couldn't come up with anything that fitted. Then I just thought, all my people right here, right now, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Very vague, very ambiguous. That'll do. Look in the mirror and wink while you're singing it, and it's quite saucy. And I effing love that line. Coming in a mess, going out in style. We're a bunch of scruffs from Manchester, and we were going out in a Rolls Royce. In another interview from that same year, this time on BBC, Noel said, I can't believe I wrote it. It's going to blow people away. The Morse code in the background was inspired by Strawberry Fields Forever. We got a hold of a code book and tried to tap out bugger all to follow that line. Don't look back because you know what you might see. But if anyone can tell me what we really said, please let me know. And in an interview with the BBC for their documentary 7 Ages of Rock, he said of the song, it's 8.5 minutes, it's really 7.5 minutes. The first single, the drums haven't effing come in for 2 minutes. It's all feedback. He also said he expected someone to ask them to edit the introduction to the song, but such was their status in Britain, nobody did. It's like they were just daring people. The lyrics reference 2 Beatles songs, The Fool on the Hill and I Feel Fine, as well as the Bob Dylan album, Blood on the Tracks, and Dylan documentary, Don't Look Back. All right, guys, we're going to finally get to some music. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening to all that. But I thought it was very important to set, not every album has a great story behind the making of it, but there is a lot of stuff going on here. I think it's important we understand that going into hearing this, for me, the first time. Do you know what I mean? Now, that Morse code at the start apparently is bugger all, pork pies, and Strawberry Fields Forever. That's what it spells out for all of us who don't know Morse code and don't want to go back and interpret that. I'll try to keep my comments between songs pretty short, just because the songs are long, and we'll talk about them up front. The lyrics, I don't think there's going to be a ton to a lot of these lyrics, because I don't think that's really where they were at, as the producer stated in my opening explanation of this stuff. The guitar work is definitely well done, and obviously too much, but it's definitely well done. Noel's great on it, and Bonehead in there as well. Vocals, Liam sounds good. I mean, I like this song, man. It sounds like it just fits right in with the other two I've listened to, so I really do like it. I mentioned at the 5-minute mark, it probably could have stopped there. I like the next 2 minutes. I was fine. At the 7-minute mark, it probably could have stopped there and not given us those extra 43 seconds. But, really good song. Now we'll move on to My Big Mouth. Noel told Q Magazine, into my big mouth you could fly a plane, even if I'm not interested in what I've got to say half the time. But I ain't never spoke to God. I ain't never been to heaven. That's about fans who think you're on the phone to John Lennon and you have all the answers. I understand where it comes from. People meeting their heroes. They talk to you without thinking because they only have a minute. They go bang about something happening in their lives, and you go open mouth, blank face. So, I don't know. Like I said, there's going to be a ton to these lyrics either. Let's check it out. Little calmness at the end. I like that song as well. It had way too much guitar, right? The guitar was way too loud throughout all of it. It was really hard to hear Liam at times. I mean, it's good guitar, but it's just too much, man. But I still like the song. He's just kind of talking about, he gets a little shout out at the end of verse 1, down the long and winding road back to home. So talking about, a little shout out to the Beatles and the pre-chorus, around this town, they cease to be, you cease to be, that's what you get for sleeping with the enemy. He said that was a shout out to, he got in, they got in good with the British press, and so people in their hometown in Manchester viewed him as sellouts. Where angels fly, you won't play. So guess who's going to take the blame for? And then he gets into that chorus. My big mouth, my big name. I'll put on my shoes while I'm walking slowly down the hall of fame. Into my big mouth, you could fly a plane. He's kind of acknowledging he doesn't even care what he has to say half the time. Second verse kind of gets into what I talked about at the first part, where he was saying people come and talk to you and tell you all this stuff. And that's kind of it, man. I mean, they set up on that chorus, my big mouth, my big name. I'll put on my shoes while I'm walking slowly down into the Hall of Fame. They set up shop on that. I mean, I think it's a good song. I think they could have just dialed back the guitar a little bit, but I enjoyed it. Now we'll move on to Magic Pie. Noel told Q Magazine, I sang this one. Of course, me and Liam had a row about it. Why can't I sing that? Okay, I'll do Fade In, Out then. No, you won't, but it's his favorite track now. The first line, an extraordinary guy can never have an ordinary day, comes from him asking me, how come you never get into any of the situations I get into? And I borrowed something from Tony Blair's speech at the Labor Party conference last autumn. The vocal harmonies are quite psychedelic. The jazzy bit at the end is played on a mellotron, which was made for the Beatles' Abbey Road session, so I thought that was cool. All I did was run my elbows across the keys, and the mad jazz came out, and everyone laughed. The magic pie happened when I was pissed and looking in a rhyming dictionary for a word with an I ending. I saw magpie, but I read it as magic pie. I thought that conjures up a few things. 7-minute tune. Let's check it out. Magic Pie. I'm going to be a broken record, but I'm going to say it every time I feel it just because, it needs to be said. 7 minutes, 10 seconds. Could have been 5.5 even. It is interesting that the guitars, although they're powerful in here, they seem to be toned down a little bit. Noel singing the vocals. Is it possible because he mixed this and he was the one putting the guitar overdubs? He dialed them back a little bit for his vocals. I don't like his singing at this point in time quite as much as Liam. I still like it. When they get older, like the current time, I think Noel actually sounds better. I think Liam kind of blew the voice out a little bit over the years, but it was very catchy, more melodic and more anthemic than I think the other two were. I mean, as far as the lyrics, who really knows, right? I mean, I talked about them a little bit at the start, but the bridge, but I'll have my way in my own time. I'll have my say, my star will shine. So they say that is an allusion to one of Noel's favorite bands, the Stone Roses, which we have their 2 albums up, full reviews and reactions. Check those out later. Both the classic I Want to Be Adored and Your Star Will Shine, which is off their second album. Start of verse 2 there, but 1,000 days preparing for 1,000 years was the line he took from Tony Blair's speech that he talked about. But because you see the chorus, because you see me, I've got my magic pie. Think of me, that was me. I was that passerby. I've been and now I've gone. You see me, I've got my magic pie. So he just kind of finishes off with all of that chorus. And then at the very end, he's like, shut up. And that's the end of it. And then we get into that weird little 15-second outro that doesn't really fit with the song. But I mean, that's what he was going for, right? Throw whatever you want on there. But another good song. Now we go to the 4-track Stand By Me. Second single went to 2 in the UK. Noel claims to have written the song while suffering from food poisoning when he first moved to London. Long story behind that. For time purposes, I won't tell you about it. Song borrows elements from David Bowie's All the Young Dudes. Noel said on the song, I have on the booklet from Time Flies 1994 to 2009, said, I have no recollection of writing it or recording it for that matter. It's got a ton of streams on Spotify. Let's check it out. Stand By Me. I'll get to the nitpicking stuff first. Probably repeated the chorus a tad bit too much in the song. Just a little bit. I mean, that's how you could have got it shorter because it's a really good song. It's my favorite song on here so far. The first track would be my second favorite so far. We got a lot of album left, but thought it was much more melodic. Guitars dial back the volume of them. Still super, super well done on the guitar part. The bridge, so what's the matter with you? Sing me something new. Don't you know the cold and wind and rain don't know? They only seem to come and go away. And then, of course, stand by me. Nobody knows the way it's going to be. And they repeat that a lot. I like verse 3. If you're leaving me, take me with you. If you're leaving, will you take me with you? I'm tired of talking on my phone. Boy, what does he feel like now? There's one thing I can never give you. My heart will never be your home, which is, that's some pretty tough stuff. Noel said, That's about the private space you have to keep, the place where I go to write my stuff. Meg was fairly upset by that. I would imagine she was, right? I said, I wasn't talking about you, but there are places where you have to go alone. I put off opening it up. I don't know how to do it, or I don't want to do it. I like at the very end, they go with the stand by me, nobody knows the way it's going to be. They say that 3 different times, and then this, yeah, God only knows the way it's going to be. They just throw that in at the end. I thought that was cool, but a super, super well done track. Now we head to track number 5. I hope, I think, I know. Noel did not think highly of this track. The only reason it's on the album is for balance because it's quite fast. He said, I like the demo, but it's too pop for me now. I'm slowing down. I'm getting into my voodoo Tao stage. It reminds me of the Buzzcocks, but I think it's going to be like Hey Now on Morning Glory, the one that nobody mentions. The urban legend says that this song was never performed live. There are no live performances on record. Who knows? It probably was somewhere. If you're at a concert and they perform this, let me know in the comments below. I hope, I think, I know. Probably should be called You'll Never Forget My Name. After that build-up commentary on it, I thought the song wasn't going to be very good. It's actually pretty good. I mean, I actually enjoyed it. You know, they're trying hard to put me in my place, and that is why I got to keep running. The future's mine is no disgrace, because in the end, the past means nothing. Kind of a little play on words because they came from nothing. You tell me I'm free, then you tie me down, and from my chains, I think it's a pity. What did it cost you to wear my crown? You don't like me, why don't you admit it? The chorus is we beg and steal and borrow, life is hit and miss, and this. I hope, I think, I know, if I ever hear the names you call. And if I stumble, catch me when I fall, because baby, after all, you'll never forget my name. You're trying hard to put me in my place, and that's why I got to keep running. The future is mine, it's your disgrace, because in the end, your laugh means nothing, and it just gets into those, into the chorus again. And the outro just 4 times, you'll never forget my name. So I actually like that. So it's not going to end up on my favorites or anything, but I thought it was well done. Well, after this song, we'll be halfway done. We got The Girl in the Dirty Shirt. Noel wrote it with his then girlfriend Meg Matthews in mind after he saw her iron a dirty shirt before an Oasis gig. He told Q Magazine, you guessed it, Meg is the girl in the dirty shirt. We're doing a gig in Brighton just before Meg and me were going out. She was at the hotel ironing a dirty shirt because she hadn't brought enough clothes with her. I know it sounds a bit soft. Liam will read this and say, you effing wanker, because he thinks all the songs are about him. He even thinks Wonderwall is about him. So he'll be telling me it's a geezer in a dirty shirt, really, except I couldn't say that because it would look bad. The chord structure came straight from the Beatles' Cry Baby Cry, but I think it's a bit like the Small Faces with the Wurlitzer at the end. The Girl in the Dirty Shirt, little different instrumentation-wise on here. It's weird. I thought the guitars worked really well on this song, really added to the ambiance, only in a couple parts that I feel like they were overdone. So I thought that was really good. And you get the keys in there a little bit at the end, and just a nice sound. Liam sounds good. The dirty shirt to me. It sticks in your head, man. Verse 2, if you ever find yourself in a bubble, you got to make your own home. You can call me anytime you're seeing double. Now you know you're not alone. So could be that she's drunk. Could be something else. The bridge. You've got a feeling lost inside. You just won't let you go. Your life is sneaking up behind. It just won't let you go. No, it just won't let you go is what I'm trying to say. And then the second bridge, she knows exactly what she's worth to me 4 times. And now I see, I think they repeat that about 10 times. So, you know, there's not a lot to this song, but it sounds great sonically. I mentioned earlier we're at the halfway point. So I'll say this. You know, I read a lot about this album, a lot more, believe it or not, than I even shared with you, and how much this album's not really liked nowadays by critics and most fans of Oasis. So far, 6 tracks in, I get it. Some of the songs are too long. You've heard me. Some of the guitar works too much. You've heard me. But man, I really like it. I think it's a really good album. So we'll see what the second half holds for us. You see below, we got Fade In, Out. Noel told the story of the song's recording. The first part of the song is from the Mystique demo with Johnny Depp playing slide guitar. It's got a little Johnny Depp on here, playing a little Jack Sparrow playing slide guitar. I like it because it's the first blues songs I've done, and Liam does the best singing I've ever heard from him. I pushed him to the limit on that. I said, pretend you're a black man from Memphis. He's not got very good rhythm, and we made him stamp his foot all through it. He couldn't sing for a week after. So I don't think the 14-year-old girls will be skipping about to this one until they find out Johnny Depp's on it. It's going to be weird how that's perceived, having a Hollywood star on the album, but I'm glad it happened. If he hadn't been around, we'd have had to get some old fat geezer who'd be telling us how he played with Clapton in '76 and did a slide solo that lasted for effing months. Noel said on recording a scream for the song, me and Liam did a scream. We had to take a week off afterwards. It was awful. If you hear it on the record, it's put through a harmonizer and it sounds ... It wasn't very good. I'm closing my eyes now and thinking of it, and I'm thinking it's not very good. All right, let's check it out. All right, fade in, out. Didn't mind that one. It wasn't as bluesy as Noel had said. I didn't think, you know what he said when the intro, the quote I read. You know, I thought Paul's bass work was good on here. Alan's drumming was good. And the guitar work obviously is good. That could have been about 2 minutes shorter. A little bit of abstract lyricism on here. Not bad, man, but not going to be a standout for me at all. But let's move on, as you see below, to Don't Go Away. Went to 15 in Canada. Its origins date back to 1993 when Oasis spent time with the Real People at their studio in Liverpool. Don't Go Away was included in a batch of songs written under the wing of the Griffiths brothers, which also includes Columbia, rock and roll star Rocking Chair, and others. Liam claims to have cried while recording the song as a result of dwelling on a certain thing. He said in an interview in 1997, I just thought, F that, I can't be singing this song, and I had to go away and sort myself out. Listening back to the song, he admits to being very proud of his vocal performance. Also in 97, Noel said in an interview, it's a very sad song about not wanting to lose someone you're close to. The middle eight I made up on the spot. I never had that lyric until the day we recorded it. Me and you, what's going on, always seem to know is how to show the feelings that are wrong. It's after a row, quite bleak. We put Burt Bacharach horns on it because he was the master of breakup songs. I did all the string arrangements. I tried to keep them as simple as possible. I like the way Mark Bolan, the great T-Rex Mark Bolan, used them on Children of the Revolution. People do remember string parts as separate hook lines. You know, you just don't want to use them slushily. There are two general and similar theories as to how Noel got inspired to write the song. It's either about when Noel and Liam's mom was hospitalized for a cancer scare while they were touring the U.S., or is created based on a request from rhythm guitarist Paul Bonehead Arthurs, whose mom, Delia, was dying of cancer at the time. The Be Here Now booklet states this record is dedicated to the eternal memory of Delia Arthurs. All right, Don't Go Away. Pretty much everything works on this song for me. 1, it's under 5 minutes. 2, it's not overproduced. 3, the guitars do not overpower the song in any way. I think Liam sounds fantastic on the song. It may be my favorite on here just because of all of those factors. The chorus itself, to Don't Go Away, say what you say that you'll stay forever and today. It's heavily inspired, some would say copied, I'm reading from those, from the song Feel the Pain by the Real People that I was talking about in the introductions. The song was part of their unreleased sophomore album called Marshmallow Lane. Noel met the band while touring as a roadie with Inspiral Carpets, and they helped Oasis out during the beginning of their career. So, yeah, man, just the song itself is just so good. You know, after that, so don't go away, say what you say that you'll stay forever and a day in the time of my life, because I need more time. Yes, I need more time just to make things right. You feel the emotion in Liam on this, and I haven't really felt the emotion in him in any of these other songs. Not that that's a bad thing. You're not going to feel the artist's emotion in every song. You don't need to, but this song in particular, I think that's what made it stand out for me. Now we'll go to Be Here Now. Some of the music recorded and used in the song was played on a plastic piano, which Noel said he acquired from one of Mick Jagger's kids while they were on vacation in the same area, that same Mystique trip with Johnny Depp. Noel said to Q Magazine, in Mystique, Johnny Depp and Kate Moss stayed at Mick Jagger's house. We were down on the beach and there was this toy plastic piano that belonged to one of Jagger's kids. The openings played on that slowed down. I was pressing that one key for about 2 hours. Meg going, will you effing shut up? Anyway, I nicked it. I can't help it. Mick can have it back if he wants. Then back home, I was talking about drum loops with Owen Morris, the producer, and he said one of the greatest was the opening to Honky Tonk Woman. We played it and it was in the same time signature as that piano. So I wrote the song from there. I like the Stones' involvement at the start and finish of writing it. Be Here Now. I did an Oasis Top 10 a while back for one of our patrons. I think this song was on there. I've come across this song somewhere because I know the toy piano story. That was not new to me. So I don't know. I like this song. I think it works pretty well together. I think the instrumentation enhances things. It's interesting. The outro, come on, come on, come on, yeah. It shares the same lyrics as the outro on the Oasis song Columbia from Definitely Maybe, which I reviewed last month or reacted to last month for Richard. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What else And the chorus, kicking up a storm from the day that I was born, sing a song for me. One from Let It Be, open up your eyes, get a grip of yourself inside. So once again, a throw out to the Beatles, but I thought everything worked pretty well on that song. It's definitely going to be among contention for my favorites. Now we'll go to All Around the World. Third single, reached number 1 in the UK, became the longest song ever to reach number 1, and is Oasis's longest song. It's 9 minutes and 19 seconds. Also reached number 1 in Ireland, 15 on the US modern rock charts. The song was one of the first to be written by Noel, and there are recorded sessions of the band rehearsing it at the Boardwalk Club as early as 1992, so 5 years previously. However, despite Noel's fondness for the song, it did not appear on the first 2 albums, as he wanted to wait until the band could afford to produce the song in the extravagant manner in which it eventually appeared. He has claimed that this is one of the best songs he has ever written. And this won't be the last we hear of this, because a little over 2-minute reprise, it's this instrumental of this, closes the album. But that's in a few tracks. Let's check it out. There you go, All Around the World. Very melodic. One of the most melodic songs on here. Part of that's because of the that you do a little bit of Hey Jude shout out on here, and then the bridge twos, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be, and then the la 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 la. It makes it melodic, it makes it stick in your head, it makes it sing along, but it's 9 minutes and 19 seconds, and that's about 4 minutes too long. It's way too long, man. I mean, it's good, it's a grand song, and that's what he wanted. You know, another quote he had here, he said, I wrote this one ages ago. It was 12 minutes long, then it was a matter of being able to afford to record it, but now we can get away with a 36-piece orchestra. And the longer the better as far as I'm concerned if it's good. I can see what people are going to say, but F them basically. The lyrics are teeny poppy, but there are 3 key changes towards the end. Imagine how much better Hey Jude would have been with 3 key changes towards the end. I like the ambition of it all that time ago. So, you know, I think it accomplished exactly what Noel wanted. You know, and I like it. I definitely like it. It's just too long. But, you know, the first bridge, take me away because I just don't want to stay. And the lies you make me say are getting deeper every day. These are crazy days, but they make me shine. Time keeps rolling by. And the chorus, first chorus, all around the world, you've got to spread the word. Tell them what you heard. We're going to make a better day all around the world. You've got to spread the word. Tell them what you heard. You know it's going to be okay. So I think that anthemic call there, people can kind of take that chorus and use it to whatever their cause or whatever they're going through. So I think that probably helped it become super popular. And as I said, the longest number 1 song, at least at that time, in the history of the UK charts. Now we go to another long one. This one's over 7 minutes long. It's Getting Better, parentheses, man. The lyric Getting Better is repeated 41 times throughout the song. Noel, the Q magazine, actually wrote this jamming on stage with the band during the last American tour. A really happy tune, even though there's a lot of stuff going down. Because we got connected with the Beatles all the time, I thought I'd write a Rolling Stones song instead. Nothing wrong with that, Noel. It's Getting Better, man. Sorry, I had my mic off because there's some noise outside my house. I don't know what was going on out there in the neighbor's yard, so I was saying something during the reaction you might not have heard at the end. 32 is what I was visualizing it for you, but they repeat It's Getting Better, man, 32 times to end this song, which kind of sums up the way this album has kind of turned of just the overindulgence, man. This song's good, right? It has a good sound to it. There's not a lot to it. It's a 7-minute song. Starts out with the verse that's pretty long, then a bridge, then a chorus. There's 3 different choruses. It's just changed up slightly. Another verse, it's only 2 lines, a bridge. And then, you know, we just got to get into this We're Getting Better, man, 32 times to finish the song, the last 2 minutes of it with this repeating guitar riff. And it just shows you the overindulgence that we've reached with Noel and Liam, right? Because it just wasn't necessary. The song itself, like I said, pretty good, man. Pretty jamming song. Enjoyed it. Not really going to break down the lyrics because we're getting better, man. Now we're going to finish with an easy 2-minute all around the world reprise. At the conclusion of the track, footsteps can be heard as the music fades out and a door is slammed to finish the album. Critics have suggested the details is symbolic of Oasis closing the door on the Britpop era. I don't know, man. Sometimes we read stuff into stuff that really doesn't mean anything. Might just mean they were saying it's the end of this album, but who knows? All right, the reprise of All Around the World. Noel said on this, I was running out of guitar lines, so I decided to fade it in with backwards guitars. The feet clumping out at the end belonged to Brian Cannon, the sleeve designer. And the door slamming, that's never been done before, of course. We got a Penny Lane piccolo trumpet in there because a guy in the brass section stood up and said, you should have a piccolo trumpet on that. And I've got one. So we sent him home in a taxi to fetch it. They'll all be using them soon. That was just part of the confidence that the Gallagher brothers had at the time. So I actually enjoyed that. It's a 72-minute album. It would have been a 70-minute album without this. I actually thought it was smart to do this because I don't think you want to end your album on a 9-minute and a 7-minute song, and it was actually very pleasant sounding. So now we're going to get to my favorite tracks. Honorable mentions, Magic Pie, the one that Noel was on vocals on, and also Be Here Now. Favorites, the first track, Do You Know What I Mean? Stand By Me, and Don't Go Away. So 5 of the 12 songs. So now we get to my overall grade. First of all, I'm very glad Richard brought this to me, right? Because I've done the previous 2 albums, Definitely Maybe, and Trey and I did What's a Story, Morning Glory, a long time back. You can go check those 2 out on the channel. I'll link one of them at the end screen at the end here. But I don't know that I would have listened to this album, but I wanted to listen to it, to kind of finish off the 3-album run. It's a hard album to grade, right? It's just a hard album to grade because all the stuff that you've been hearing me champion throughout. It's too long. It's too long. It is too long. It's too long. The songs are too long. The album's too long. There's not a standout song on here I'd go, oh, they need to cut that, or I'd throw this out. It's not like that. It's not like there's a bad song on here. They're just too stinking long, man. That's just the problem. So in that, I'm going to be at an overall grade of a 7.0 out of 10. I almost put it in the 6s, but I mean, it's good. It is good. It's got a lot of good stuff to it, man. I think Liam sounds good. I don't think the songwriting is nearly as good as on the previous 2, but who knows? A lot of times you got to kind of dig in the weeds to find out what Noel's really talking about, and I'm sure he knows on some of them. I'm sure some of them he's not talking about anything. They just sounded good when they were put to music. But the band itself, Bonehead sounds great. Paul on the bass, Alan on the drum. I mean, everybody sounds fine. It's just overindulgent. That's all. But it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad album. So I appreciate Richard bringing. Appreciate you guys for coming on this journey. It really was a journey this time. It was a long journey, but I think it was worth it. I definitely think it deserved a listen. If you want to support us anyway, as Richard does, check out the Patreon link below on the end screen. That is about to hit. And give us a sub if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. Until next time, guys, I will see you.